What's up, gang? So, the V that I'm putting the Telecaster pickup in from the back. And I know that's not traditional. That's why the last video was like, you cannot be serious. But one of the things I like about building things from an outsider's perspective,
it was absolutely awesome, and I know it came
Uncle Ben talking about his gig with Mastodon.
Which is why I went over and asked my music Patreon community.
Ben Eller Guitars, check him out, YouTube. I just don't do things the way it's been done forever, for whatever reason. Like, the reason I'm doing it this way is because traditionally, on any of these guitars that's not a Telecaster, when this pickup is in there, it goes in from the top, so you have to account for all this extra base plate material. So instead of having just that, like on a Telecaster, all you have is this nice clean slot that just enough for the pickup. And you only have the screws to adjust the height. Well, I got rid of that on this because I came up with a different way to adjust the height of the pickup, which I'll show you in a minute. But I wanted to have just the cleanest opening possible, but I also wanted to use a Telecaster neck pickup instead of a traditional neck pickup. And I have my reasons for that. But when you use a Telecaster neck pickup in the traditional way, it's got this pick guard that it's mounted to. So there's no routing from the back. It goes in from the top. And you have this extra thickness to account for in the bridge height, or the pickup height. So without knowing what I'm doing, because I'm just building this from a hobbyist perspective, I just know that I want this to look like that. Nice and clean, small gap all the way around the pickup. I don't want it to be down in a hole and, you know, see it like that, the traditional way that it is. So last night we were all on Scar My Guitar with Sean and Kathy.
Uncle Guitars. Bro, I was watching you doing that Randy Rose beat that I did, or whoever it was. What was the guy's name? The AL one. Why did you wrap the pickup from the back of the guitar? Because you already glued the neck in or something? I was watching you do that. I couldn't figure out what the purpose of that was for. Punk Uncle said, 'cause I bumped my head several times. Yeah, I was wondering if you did, because I didn't see why you did it that way. You don't really don't have a good reason, just because you just did it that way, huh? Well, I mean, you got it done. I guess that's all that matters.
He builds nice guitars, so, you know, his perspective is valid. I just told him I bumped my head several times. But the reason for it is I just want that clean top side. I want it to look a certain way. I don't want that extra routing for the pickup base. So in order to do that, I have to route it like this, put it in from the back, and I've flush mounted a carbon fiber cover on the other guitar that I'm doing. So after he pointed that out to me, I was like, maybe I should go look at that again. And I was looking at it, and when I'm on an idea, I'm focused to get the end result. I'm not thinking about the surrounding consequences or repercussions of what this might produce. Well, doing this makes this very thin. Yeah, so that ended up being really thin, and you know, that's less than 1 inch right there. So part of what I love about being, you know, not a guitar builder, I haven't been building these for 10 or 20 or 30 years, but I do know how to build things and make things strong because I come from building race things that take a lot of abuse. So to make them out of lightweight, strong material, that's kind of how my brain already works. So if this was concrete and you wanted to strengthen it, it would have metal reinforcement inside of it if you don't want to add to the outside dimension. So I'm basically going to put 2 metal bars in this, except what are they? These 3-inch long deck screws. And I'll countersink them in there in such a way that the top is, the threaded part is pulling on this part, and this non-threaded part, which creates slip, will put this section under compression. I can tighten that, and the vulnerable part of the guitar will be under compression. And I'll put one on front and one on the back, and then I'll plug it with a 1/4 inch dowel, and it'll be, that'll never ever break. It looks, like I say, this is an afterthought because I wanted the shape, and then I wanted to add the pickup, and in doing so it made this thin. So in order to get the strength back, I have to devise a way, and this is it. So here we go. So we'll start out I wanted this. So this is the in the back, and it'll have a recessed flush mounted carbon fiber cover. So we'll start with Instagram? YouTube, me Instagram. You guys hang out, try to get along. No jealousy. No jealousy. Before I do that, I want to even this up by taking a little off this, so the free hands off of that. Okay, time for the actual freehand part of the exercise. Overdid a little bit right there. That is okay. We'll fix that with just a little bit of filler.
This is pretty soon, but like within a year or two after that, he retired. You know, and I bought one of his amps. You know, and she was up a number of times at Gillies, so the last time I saw him live, oddly enough, was in the '90s in a mall. And I was on the second story of the mall, and I just thought myself, this is not really. And he had some backup tapes he was playing too. We had a band, but they actually had some backup tapes. I thought, what was this? This is pretty soon, but like within a year or two after that, he retired. You know, and then I bought one of his amps. She was probably like 14, so I would get something good. Well, it was one of them gigantic quads, but it had two Altec 15s in it. Quad's supposed to have 4 speakers in it, right? But he had two 15, I think Altecs, right? And he had 2 of them. Looked like refrigerators. And I liked it, but I said, man, this is just too much to carry around. So I sold it to Dallas Moore. So he's got that hernia later.
Louder than hell too.
Yeah, it was a great sounding amp. But yeah, just not, yeah. As you get older, you go bring in a little big notes. I know when they did a documentary on me in '98, I think it was, or was it Diana died? Because I remember there's an English company when Diana died, they had to go back.